Hello and welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that is perfectly balanced as all things should be. It has been a long time since you've heard me in the driver's seat, but I'm back, baby, and I'm better than ever. It's Jarret, and joining me in the studio today is arguably the best sounding Infinity Bro, Isaac. Isaac, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thank you for that wonderful intro. It's always fun to hear people enjoy my voice. I don't like hearing it myself, but I think that's
Really
pretty common with people. I don't know. It's something about being critical of yourself, I think, because
Sure.
I do the same thing with videos as well. I like rewatch the videos and TikToks that I make, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't listen to this or watch this.
Stinks.
This guy stinks. Yeah, but thank you for that. I appreciate that. It gives me the confidence to keep going. You know.
Yeah. I feel like you and Max both have like really good voices for radio, and the rest of us have
Pretty
like
good faces
normal
for radio
voices
too. So
Yeah. The rest of us sound like, regular Joe Schmoes, but I feel like you guys have at least like a unique sound. Horrible takes though. Can we talk about Snow White for a second? I'm
Sure,
not trying to out you at the beginning of the episode, but I actually am doing that.
Yeah.
Why is what I want to know.
I've never liked it. I don't know. When I was a kid,
crazy.
I just thought it was boring. And I think it is. I mentioned it on our Patreon episode, on our last episode of the podcast, but I just thought it was boring as a kid. And Bambi
Yeah.
and a lot of those early ones fall in that same category for me. I just could not make it through a movie without getting bored. And I grew up I'm a 90s kid. I grew up in the 90s, and those 90s animated Disney films just are fantastic. And I think maybe I grew accustomed to those. So when I did go back and watch those Disney classics, I don't know. They didn't.
Wait, are you saying when was the first time you saw Cinderella, the movie?
Cinderella? I mean, when I was a kid, like when I was
not
5 or
Cinderella,
6,
Snow White.
probably. Snow White,
Yeah.
same deal. Like,
okay,
young, yeah, pretty young.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know, man. They just never appealed to me. That and Cinderella probably falls in that category. I think Disney's version of Cinderella is a decent version of Cinderella, so it has that going for it. There are other things like, I mean, Pinocchio too. Just not. That's just a freaky movie in general. Like, like it's just really scary for a child's movie. But like, I don't know. And when you start to get into the late 50s, 60s, that's when they started coming out with the bangers, I think. Sword in the Stone.
Yeah.
That's one of my like
Black Cauldron.
early favorites. Black Cauldron, that's a good one. Robin Hood. I love Robin Hood so much. That one's amazing. But, that's the stuff that I liked watching. 101 Dalmatians, I think, is early 60s. That kind of stuff. But pre that, I mean, Sleeping Beauty is decent. I don't mind that one as much. All the other ones, just the classic tales.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. They just kind of were boring to me. And I think, they've tried, not even Disney specifically, but like companies now have tried to come up with different versions of those stories, Like
we got Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, and
and that's actually a really great version of that story. So, but yeah, I think there's been other takes on those classic tales that are probably better. And in that sense, I don't know. Like I because I don't really like Snow White, I was not going to see the live action one in theaters anyways. But maybe this one will be better than the old original version. I don't know. Who knows?
Interesting. Yeah.
I don't care for that story either way, so I don't really care. But there's a chance that it could be as good or better than the original version. So
I'm glad we gave you this opportunity to like redeem yourself, because the internet has been
the internet's been Facebook specifically. Facebook people have been ripping on me, which is fine. That's what we're here for. We're here to give you the takes that you can take and just show your friends how ridiculous we sound. So, there you go. That was one of those takes. And granted, I was harsh in that clip. I said it's not good. I take back that statement. I think it's boring. That's where I'll like plant my flag, is that it's boring. I don't think it's not good, because it is classic Disney animation. Like, you go back to that stuff and you're like, it's beautifully hand drawn animation. So like I'm never gonna dog classic Disney animation. It's always looks great, but to me it's just not for me, and that's just an opinion thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So you as a 30-something man are not like the target audience for Snow White.
Yes, true.
That's
I mean,
crazy to
but
me.
as a child though too,
Yeah.
I also found it boring. So and
Yeah.
you know, when I was part of the target audience, it still didn't appeal to me. So
To be very, very fair, we had like Treasure Planet and like
oh,
the
we
Goofy
had
movies and
bangers,
stuff.
dude. I
Yeah,
know.
so
Like
I get it.
see the 90s, early 2000s is peak Disney's animation. Like
Yeah.
the best stuff. Emperor's New Groove is another one
Oh
that
yeah,
is just
for
an
sure.
absolute banger. Like that stuff was coming out when we were kids. So we were eating well. We didn't
Yeah.
have to go back to the 40s and watch this and, you know,
Yeah.
I don't
Think
want
that
to
this
say
is
be
the
like
best thing. Yeah.
right, yeah, right. I don't want to say that we were being force fed those Disney
Sure.
classics or anything, because I still think some of them are worth watching. And my kids enjoy Snow White, so we watch it occasionally. Like I'm not banning my children from watching it because they think it's that horrible or anything like that. But yeah, it just wasn't for me, and it still isn't. So
I had 4 sisters growing up, so I was being force
mm,
fed this content.
yeah, there you go.
100%. Okay, we got a lot to get into.
Non-Disney related.
Non-Disney, completely free of Snow White. We got in the muds, but we're getting out. We're getting out of the mud pit again. There were no rats of unusual size to slow us down, and we made it after all.
Nice.
So there is a lot of video game stuff going on, and I felt like we had to have at least one episode where we kind of grabbed everything and talked about it. And so we're gonna go through Minecraft. Obviously, that was a big deal for movie to video game fans. Mixed reception. We'll talk about that a little bit when we get to it. I would like to talk about some of the Switch 2 news because there is a lot going on there, and I think this will make or break Nintendo in a big way, and I'm excited to see like what your thoughts on this are as well. And then last but not least, Rivals has been doing the most, I feel like, and I feel like we should give some space to talk about that and kind of some of the stuff in the newest season that may be controversial, if we dare say.
Yeah.
And I have a fun thing I'd like to try at the end of the episode. And so, Isaac, to sort of like get you in the mood and to get our listeners to hang on maybe a little longer, I want you to start thinking now about these questions, and then we're going to actually answer them at the very end of the podcast.
Okay.
So the question that I want you to answer by the time we end this podcast is, if you could bring 2 heroes from your comic books growing up, I say heroes or villains, any characters, 2 characters to Marvel Rivals, who would it be?
Ooh,
Okay.
that's
And
a
then
good one.
I want you to add 2 costumes. Now, these do not have to be for the same heroes that you pick, and they do not have to be costumes for a hero that's currently in the game. I just want you to be like, I love this look from a comic book. I feel like this would translate well to the game. Okay.
Okay.
And
All right.
for you at home, dear listeners, I want you to also answer these questions, and I'm sure we'll make a clip of this somehow. I want you guys to pitch us those as well, because I'm curious to see what you guys think. Without further ado, let's talk about Minecraft. So this just came out at the beginning of April, and it's had some wild reception. I feel like people either love this or they hate this, and right now a lot of people hate this movie. But you and I got to go see it. Obviously not together. I went with my kids, and then you just recently went with your kids. And I feel like you and I had kinder opinions in the internet. So just real quick, give me the sky view of how you felt about this, real spoiler free, for somebody who just wants like, is this worth going to see?
Yeah. So coming into this movie, I did not think it was going to be good. Like the trailers that we've gotten were rough at best. Just silly kid stuff. And that's kind of what I expected. And honestly, that's pretty much what it ended up being. We'll get into spoilers and like break down stuff a little bit later, but I was kind of pleasantly surprised at how fun this movie was. It was a lot of fun, and it's a Jack Black movie 100% through and through. If you're a Jack Black fan, I think you'll probably like this movie. If you don't like him, you probably won't like this movie. But yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff in it. There's a lot of fun nods to Minecraft. There was a multiple times during the movie that my kids like screamed out, Minecraft terms and characters and things and pointed at the screen. So it was a lot of fun for the kids. It was a lot of fun for me. It's one of those movies that you just got to turn your brain off and just watch and enjoy, because if you think too hard about it, you're probably going to hate it. Honestly. So, but it was better than I expected it to be. I was not expecting much though. So we'll come to our ratings towards the end of it, but it was fun. It was a fun, silly kids movie. And if you go in expecting any more than that, you'll probably be disappointed.
It is like, this is, and I think that's the thing, is like, this is genuinely a kids movie, right? There is some minor adult humor. In fact, I believe there's a part where Jason Momoa actually says kick ass. And I'm like, what? Like, can we say that in Minecraft?
Right, and there were multiple times where Jack Black and other characters said hell, which, is not necessarily like a bad word, but like for a movie that's like geared at kids, I was like, oh, okay, interesting choice.
The like, kick ass, like, full on stopped me where I was like, wait, did he just say that?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you come into it expecting like this is a kids movie, it does have like minor adult humor sprinkled in here and there. It's good. Like, it's actually okay. It's a good movie. Now, I'm not like flooding to the streets to rewatch it, but me and my boys, we like Minecraft, and like you said, it is very much a love letter to Minecraft and a lot of the new stuff that they're doing with like Minecraft Dungeons, Minecraft Legends. Like, they borrow a lot of that stuff. And so
I will say, to add on to what you just said though, once this comes on streaming, I guarantee 100% that my kids will be rewatching this. Like,
for sure,
it was a fun movie for them, and it falls along the lines of, the Super Mario Bros. Movies, Sonic movie. We'll go into a little bit, comparisons of video game movies, I'm sure, but like, it falls into that realm of like, my kids loved it a lot, and they're probably going to rewatch it often when it comes to streaming.
So normally we do this thing where we kind of go beat by beat through the movie, and I feel like we could do that, but it's not an overly complicated storyline. It is very much like there's a MacGuffin, there's a twist and a slight betrayal as they like try to get the MacGuffin and save the day. It is very like one note, and that's fine. We didn't come here for deep storytelling. This is not a Scorsese film. We're okay with this being what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than that, I just kind of want to go through like topic by topic. And first, how do you feel about the casting of this? Because I know people have a hard time with like taking Jason Momoa seriously, or even Jack Black, which, like, guys, since when do we not like Jack Black? Like,
that's a crazy thing that has happened in the past like year. Is there's like a ton of people online that are just coming out all of a sudden saying they don't like Jack Black, and I'm like, where is this coming from? Jack Black has been the like funniest, coolest dude forever, and I feel like he's one of those national treasures that like just everybody loves. And then all of a sudden there's just so much hate online for him, and I'm like, why? Like, and I think part of that was last year when he was like touring with his friend is in Tenacious D. I forget his name.
Oh, Kyle, sure, yeah.
Kyle Glass. Is it Kyle Glass? But like, there was some weird controversy about, he made a comment about Trump, and then they like canceled the tour. Like, they just straight up canceled it. So a lot of people, I
didn't know
like,
this.
Yeah. It was like after the like assassination attempt, and Kyle Glass said something about like, it would have been better if it hit him, or something to that effect.
Sure.
So it was, a controversial comment.
Gotcha. So
then Jack Black literally just straight up canceled the rest of the tour. That's so crazy. A lot of people were like, oh, well, placing him on the Trump side because he was striking back against those comments. And he never, ever, he's always been pretty vocal about being, I wouldn't call him like super duper liberal, but he has supported Democratic candidates in the past and stuff like that. So just an odd type of controversy. And I feel like that's where a lot of the hate has spurred from, because literally before that, I never heard like one person, like maybe you heard some people that say like, yeah, I don't care for his movies that much. But like, that was like the worst thing you ever heard anybody say about him.
Yeah.
I felt like he was universally loved, and I still love him. I think he's hilarious, and I love all of his movies. So I don't get it. I don't understand where the hate is on him. But again, he kind of does. He falls into that actor category where he plays kind of the same character in every movie.
Jack Black plays Jack Black,
He
and I
plays
think
Jack
the
Black.
difference between him and like somebody like The Rock, right?
Yeah.
The Rock takes himself very seriously and thinks like, I'm
Yeah.
an actor, right?
Right.
Whereas Jack Black is like, no, I'm Jack Black, and if you need me to play Jack Black,
Yeah.
I'll
He
play Jack Black. Like,
absolutely does not take himself
yeah,
seriously, which is one of the great parts about him. But like, he was great. Jason Momoa, I thought was great, which I was not expecting him to be great. So the fact that he was pretty decent part of this movie, pleasantly surprised by. Jennifer Coolidge was
oh my
hilarious. I
gosh,
thought she was
yes.
fantastic in this movie. And yeah, and there was a couple other, the Sebastian Hansen is the guy that plays Henry. Emma
Right.
Myers plays Natalie, and the Daniel Brooks plays Don. They were also great as well. I mean, nobody in this movie is winning Oscars for their acting
Yeah.
performances just because of the kind of movie it is. But I thought they all worked well together. It was a fun cast, honestly. I don't have too many qualms about it. But yeah, the Jennifer Coolidge little sub story was just absolutely gold. That was amazing.
Yeah, again, I agree. Like the casting is phenomenal. Rachel House, who plays like the main villain Magosha, I love her. She was in Hunt for the Wilder People, which is a Taika Waititi joint, and she's phenomenal in that movie. And so once I heard her as the bad guy, I was like, oh my gosh, I love this actress. She's phenomenal.
She plays the grandma in Moana. I knew I remembered her voice from somewhere, and I was like, what? Like, I couldn't place it.
She's Maori, and so like she's in a lot. She's sometimes typecast in that. The other one that took me a long time to figure out like this is who she is she plays one of the main characters in Soul, like the jazz movie. Yeah.
Yeah. That's another one. There you go. Okay. All right. Now
So
I'm connecting the
yeah,
dots.
she's
There
one
it
of those
is.
actresses that is like everywhere, and once you hear it, you
Mm-hmm.
can't unhear her voice wherever
Yeah.
she is.
Yep. She's got a very distinct voice. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we have Jason Momoa in this role, and I think a lot of the hate that it gets is because of Jason Momoa's character. I feel like that's completely undeserved. Like he is obviously playing a very slapstick, like dumbed down, like, but he does it so like,
Does it perfectly. Like
yeah,
the role that they wrote for him is he just absolutely nails it. Like, I'm
yeah,
not saying that it's, the best. Again, nobody's winning Oscars in
yeah,
this movie or anything like that. But like, it's perfect. He's a washed up celebrity in the video game world, and he's holding on to this video game store basically
yeah.
that is failing, and he just thinks he's still a big deal and holds himself like that the whole movie pretty much, except for that one moment where he like kind of breaks down and is like, I'm actually a loser. But
My life sucks. Yeah, yeah,
my life sucks. Yeah. But like, it was perfect. I thought he was great. And he's another one where he actually does play serious roles
yeah.
in a lot of, the stuff that he does. So when he plays a character like this, I don't know if this role necessarily speaks to his range necessarily,
Sure.
but it's fun to see him in this type of role versus, like Drogar or whatever in Game of Thrones or the main character in C, that like TV
Sure.
show. Like those are serious roles.
Yeah.
And then you come to this and dude is just like hamming it up, and he
It's
looked
so
like he
good.
had a great time. Like
Yeah.
you can't get mad at that. I thought he did great.
So you talked about the side story with Jennifer Coolidge, which I didn't know she was in this film. I was so happy.
Oh my gosh, so fun.
Her like weird side story is so like it's unnecessary. None of it matters.
Completely
You
unnecessary.
could cut it from the film and nothing would change. And it is arguably one of the best plots in the movie.
Oh my gosh.
So my son knows more about Minecraft than me, and I've been playing Minecraft since the launch, right? And so as the villager, like as she hits him with the car and stuff, he nudges me on the shoulder and he's like, "Hey, Dad, that's a nitwit." And if you guys don't play Minecraft, you'll know that you don't know that a nitwit, they don't do anything. They're like completely useless villagers. They can't sell you any. They're literally the dumbest villagers ever. And that little like attention to detail is so freaking funny.
That's
watching
amazing.
this. Yeah, and I feel like they did a lot of that, right? They really sprinkled in some good nods to like deep Minecraft lore. Like they had the Technoblade pig. I watched Technoblade, not a lot. I wasn't like a huge fan, but I thought that was so cool to honor somebody who did so much for the community and have him be like, a minor part of the movie, but at least enough where people who know realized what that was. In the same way
Yeah.
that, like, how funny it is that we have a nitwit when he said, "No, that's not a king, that's a legend." Those of us who know,
Mm.
like, Technoblade's story and his fight with cancer and stuff is like, yeah, heck yeah, like that dude is a legend. So that was great. The thing that detracts from this movie in some ways is I feel like there was a lot of roads to nowhere, right?
Mm.
They set up a lot of stuff with Henry being this like incredible builder and he was going to do all these crazy things, and we kind of see a little bit of that in the end, but not really. He just like makes an iron golem and then adds a shoe. And we're like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh."
Whoa!
Like, yeah.
Like the gun that he made early on in the movie, that was more like, oh wow, like this
Yeah, the
kid,
tater
yeah,
tot
this
gun
kid's
was
got
way
potential.
cooler.
Right, exactly.
So they didn't really do much with that. Obviously, like they had a little bit of story with Natalie trying to teach her how to like let go a little bit, but this is like a scarred, traumatized girl who now is in charge of raising her brother. And I'm kind of like, she's valid in being concerned, right? Like,
Yeah,
none of this
right,
is wrong.
right.
And then Dawn's character, I feel like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, the
That one
actress
was
did
the
great.
completely like she's another one that you could just cut out of
Why
the
is she
movie,
here?
and
Right? Like,
yeah,
what are you
she's
adding to the
wouldn't have made a
story?
difference at all.
And I get that they were kind of building to like get a home for what's the dog's name's Dennis, right?
Dennis.
Yeah,
Yep.
they needed a home for Dennis or whatever. But I'm like, what is she? What are you doing here?
Yeah. So, side note though,
Yeah,
Dennis was my kid's favorite part of the movie, even though he's only
absolutely.
in it for like
Yeah,
10 minutes tops. You know, the ode to Dennis thing, like little song that Jack Black sings. My kids have listened to that at least 50 times
that's
since we saw
so
the
funny.
movie yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, they
Oh
thought it was
no.
the best thing ever. And I'm already sick of the song. So it is Jack Black. So, like,
Yeah.
it is re-listenable and it's hilarious. But
Did your kids go through the Peaches phase?
oh yeah,
Oh
we
my
listened to Peaches
gosh.
on repeat for a long time after that movie. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and like I think my kids still listen to it when they get like if they're cleaning or something, they'll flip
Uh-huh.
Peaches on the day, and I'm like, why are you doing this to us? Please, I'm
I love
begging
that.
you,
Yep.
give me a
That,
break.
and then the Lava Chicken song, the little ditty
Yes,
that he sings, that
for his
one they
shop.
were
Yeah,
also pretty psyched about. So, some fun things happening in the Edlin household over the past couple days
yeah.
because of that. But yeah, Dennis, I agree with you. He kind of didn't end up mattering. Like, the only thing he did that mattered was bringing the cube to the real world. Like, that was
Right.
the only thing that really ended up mattering that he did.
I feel like they played it up a lot more like it was going to be because
Mhm.
they kept showing him like trying to follow the. I'm going to use D&D terms, but like follow the party around, right? Like,
Right. Yeah.
and so I was like, oh, he's going to come in at the last minute and save everybody, which he kind of does when they give him the whole wolf army. But I'm like, man,
Mm.
he had like this great opportunity for a cool hero moment where he's like, oh my gosh, it's Dennis. But
Yeah.
I guess that's neither here nor there. Again, guys, this isn't an A24 film. Like,
No.
don't expect
Honestly, even doing a review on this feels a little silly because,
it's
like,
disingenuous. Yeah.
it's like, are we really going to break down this silly? It's like, I actually, in my mind, compared it to the Spy Kids movies. Like,
Oh, sure, sure.
they're obviously bad because
Yeah.
they're targeted at like small children. But like, when I watched those when I was a kid, I was like, these are amazing. These are so cool. And when I watched them as an adult, they're hilarious. Like, don't get me wrong.
Let's not get it twisted. Spy Kids 2 was an existential crisis, right? Like,
They had some
that movie is
banger lines in
different.
there with Steve Buscemi's
Yeah.
character just dropping absolute bombs on these children, and they're just like, they have no, like, it just goes way over their head.
1 and 3, I'll agree with you fully. Those are dumb movies
Dude,
that are just, yeah.
Spy Kids 3D might have the best cast of all time.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
dog.
it's
It's serious.
insane. Sylvester Stallone is the main villain.
That's right. Oh my gosh.
George Clooney is the president
Right.
who plays a part in that. And then Steve Buscemi, Bill Paxton, like all the
Right.
people from the previous films come back for Spy Kids 3D. Like, the cast list on Spy Kids 3D is insane. But
That's
that's,
crazy.
that's a little rabbit trail that we're going off on. So, but like, that's the comparison that I made in my head, is like, these movies aren't good. They're not good movies, and it feels silly to like break them down like real good movies.
Really go through with fine tooth comb.
But they are super. They do have moments that are like, oh my gosh, like this was hilarious. Like I as an adult laughed out loud in the theater multiple times during this movie. So
it's this is a movie for kids, guys.
Yeah, it's a kids movie.
Rotten Tomatoes, and I feel like we got to talk about this because Max isn't here to defend himself. Any chance, any opportunity I have to embarrass Max, I will. So
absolutely, we got to take it. We got to take it for sure.
Rotten Tomatoes says 46 for the critics review, 87 for the public review. How do you feel about this? Like, critics are not like, this is the best movie ever.
That does not shock me at all. This is exactly what I would expect from this type of movie. Critics are coming into this breaking down what we're technically trying to do, the storyline, the characters, like, all these different parts. And if you break all that stuff down, no, it's not that good of a movie.
No.
It's not that great of a movie. But if you look at the bigger picture and who this movie is geared at and towards, I mean, that's why you got the 87% on the audience score. Like, people enjoyed it. It was a fun movie. And I go through this all the time. Like, we're actually just talking about Snow White earlier.
Yeah.
Is it a bad movie? No. But I would probably rather watch the Minecraft movie than Snow White. Is the Minecraft movie a better movie than Snow White? No, probably not. But it gives me more enjoyment to watch the Minecraft movie because it's more relevant to me and, the things that I enjoy and stuff like that. So that's why it gets that 87% because people enjoyed it. They related to it.
You heard it here first, folks.
Heard it here first. Minecraft
Local man prefers Minecraft to Snow White.
It's a bad comparison, but we already made it earlier in the episode, so I had to bring it up.
Stop the presses. This is important.
Front page news.
Yeah. I don't know if you're a TikTok guy, but there's all those people who are like breaking news, and then they'll talk about the world that's burning around us. And I hope your hot take makes it to that. Okay, so wrapping all this up, where do you land on Minecraft as a movie? And I'm saying, like, just as you as a father, you as somebody who has some enjoyment of Minecraft. I'm not talking for the general audience. How do you feel about Minecraft?
I liked it. I thought it was fun. It was, again, it's one of those movies that you just got to turn your brain off. Like, don't think too hard about it. I think I would give it a 4 out of 6.
Sure.
And I'm a pretty logical guy. So I have a hard time comparing movies. So like Quantumania, Secret Invasion, those type of like Marvel projects, I would put them at a 3.5 or a 4 out of 6. Like they're well-made movies and shows. But listen. Okay. But the storyline in Secret Invasion for sure is just absolute garbage. Like, but it's still a really well-made show. And if you just disconnect the whole
Isaac.
Secret Invasion still, it's like the last Marvel project. Like, it's my lowest rated Marvel project, but they're all just 3.5s or higher because they're just well-made things.
I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. The internet is not going to be kind to you.
That's fine. I don't care. I don't care about the internet.
We're saying Minecraft is as good as Secret Invasion and Quantumania. This movie's pretty good. Also, have you guys heard about Quantumania?
But here it comes back to what I talked about before. What would I rewatch Secret Invasion? Absolutely not. I'm not rewatching that unless somebody is like holding a gun to my head and saying you need to watch Secret Invasion.
Then why is that a 4?
Because it was well made. Like, the cinematography was good. Nick Fury or Samuel L. Jackson still puts on a good performance. Like, there are good things in that show. The storyline's crap, and it was a huge disappointment from what it could have been in the MCU. But if you separate Secret Invasion from the rest of the MCU, the show itself is like, it's fine. It's not like horrible. It's not the worst thing ever. It's just the biggest letdown that you could possibly imagine in the MCU is what
I get that.
It amounts to. But like, it's a well-made show. And Minecraft, I mean, you could put it on that plane. It's hard for me to like compare the Minecraft movie and Secret Invasion. Like, it's hard to compare. But I'd give it a 4 out of 6 because I can't justify giving it any more of that when Jack Black is literally exposition dumping every single thing that's happening in the movie.
Yes.
Like
He really
he
walks you through
explains
it.
everything.
Yes.
Everything that's happening, Jack Black explains it to you, which for small children is great, but
Yeah.
like for adults like us, not so much.
Even like my kids are 6 and 8, right? They don't really need to be told what's going on here. But I also understand like parents were bringing their 4-year-olds to this, and they could use the exposition. I'm gonna agree with you with a very small part of that. I will also say 4 out of 6. I did not give. I hope I didn't give Quantum Mania and Secret Invasion a 4 out of 6. If so, I gotta reevaluate.
Quantum Mania I'll actually defend harder because Secret Invasion that deserves to be trash. Like that deserves to be like given the highest amount of criticism. Quantum Mania was not as bad as people say it is. It still was disappointment. Still was like bottom 10 Marvel projects in my opinion, but I don't think it's quite as bad as people say it is. But anyways,
I love you, and I could not disagree more.
Where does it rank for you on your like Marvel list though? Like where does it sit?
Quantum Mania is. I'm trying to think of a worse Marvel movie.
Wow, you think it's like bottom?
I think it is.
3
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it's like that and Doctor Strange are low on the totem pole for me. And I think I might have rated them higher when I first watched them. I'll have to go back and listen, but they have not aged well in my mind. I went back and watched Quantum Mania because I was stuck on a plane. It was like the only Marvel movie on there.
The last time we ranked the like bottom MCU movies, I had Thor 2 on my like bottom, the very bottom. I need to go back and rewatch a lot of those really early ones to see if I still hate them as much as I did when I watched them the first time, because like I think Thor 2 might be one that I've only watched once or twice, honestly, because I watched it in the theater and I was like, this ain't it.
I don't know if this clip still exists on the internet. Probably not, because it was over a decade ago, I think. I don't know. It's been a long time. Back when we were the off-topic gamers, I ranked Thor: The Dark World as one of the best like VFX movies for that time.
Oh, I totally remember that. That was
so hard, and I'm like, guys, the special effects are phenomenal. Like, what are you talking about?
I remember that actually because that was on our Stan Lee episode when we were the off-topic gamers, and we actually had categories for the MCU at that point. Like, and best VFX was one of the categories. So yeah, I totally remember that.
Will still die on that hill because it's such a
we all were like, Jarret, no, what are you talking about? But hey, I don't actually disagree with you a whole lot on that one. Like, I don't care enough about Thor 2 to really argue either way. But here's another movie that is in that same category. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, still, I think 10, almost 11 years after it's released, still has some of the best VFX ever. And that movie was garbage. Like, the villains were awful.
I agree with you.
Awful in that movie. It's my least favorite Spider-Man movie of all time. But the VFX in that movie are incredible and still hold up to this day. So,
Isaac, I've waited 10 years for this redemption arc.
It's redemption.
You don't understand.
Redemption episode for Jarret. Oh gosh.
All right.
Good times.
So we survived the Minecraft movie. Collectively, you and I gave it a 4 out of 6. I'm interested to see what the other bros say.
Yeah, I know Robbie saw it for sure. He came out and he had pretty positive thoughts about it as well. So I'd say he probably sits about that, maybe slightly higher, depending on his perspective of things. But I don't believe any of the other guys have seen it yet. So after we publish this episode, we'll come up with the official Infinity Bros score with the average, and it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, definitely, probably more favorable than I expected it to be.
Grab the kids, go see Minecraft, and then if you got time left over, sneak the whole family in to see Sinners. I'm sure that's family friendly, and go from there.
Yeah. What a dichotomy of a film day, watching Minecraft and then Sinners. That would be hilarious.
Sinners looks okay. I'm a big Michael B. Jordan fan, and I love Ryan Coogler. Obviously, like Wakanda and all the Black Panther movies have been solid. I'm not going to be normal about this film. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm like, I love Southern folklore. We were talking about how, oh, help me out.
Oh,
What's
the
the new
game?
Xbox
Yeah, the
game?
game that you're
Yeah,
talking about. Yeah, I don't recall the name of it, but yeah.
is it called South of Midnight? Yes. Okay. This game looks so insanely cool. And I lived in Florida for a little bit, and I love like deep Southern Bayou country folklore. Like that's so right up my alley. And so Sinners and South of Midnight. And I don't have an Xbox. I'm suffering from success over here. I have a PlayStation
Hey,
5.
Series S is only like $300. Like they're not that
Honestly, yeah.
expensive.
And
Might be worth
we'll
it too.
talk about the price of consoles right now. That might be my next buy.
Well, okay, I want to
Yeah,
touch on something that you mentioned though.
please.
So Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler. I just saw a clip. I watched, the trailer or all the promos that they've come
Sure.
out with stuff. I'm not quite as invested as you are. Like it looks good
Yeah.
and Ryan Coogler is a great director, so I'm sure it will be good. But the one thing that caught my attention is Straw Hat Goofy, one of our influential creators, on this
Yeah.
podcast. He interviewed Ryan Coogler about Sinners, and one very fascinating piece of like a question that he asked him was
Sure.
like, what influences do you have for Sinners? And one thing that Ryan Coogler said was Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
Really?
Yes, because the villain in that is death. And
Yeah.
I've talked a lot about how I think that might be the best villain in animated history, honestly. Like it's so stinking good. If you guys haven't seen The Last Wish, need to watch that immediately. But he specifically talked about how death is a huge influence on like the villain
Yeah.
in Sinners. So I was like, okay, now you've got
That's
my attention.
amazing. Yeah, that's
Right?
kind
I
of cool,
know. I was
actually.
like, and Straw Hat was like, wait, Puss in Boots' Last Wish is an influence on Sinners? Like,
Yeah.
it's such a weird influence necessarily, but yeah, it that got my attention. And I was like, okay, I might need to pay attention to this movie then.
I get that vibe completely. I'm no Ryan Coogler, right? I'm not out here making multi-million-dollar films, but I have a character. I've been running a D&D campaign with 3 different groups over the course of the last like 15 years of a homebrew world that Isaac has been part of on 2 separate occasions, which was nice. So
Nice.
I've probably ran about 35 people through my world at different stages. And there is a character who's inspired by death from Puss in Boots. Nobody knows this. This is a secret.
That's awesome. I
But
love
yeah,
that.
he's like my favorite character, and I finally got to do some big stuff with him in my campaign. So there's a
That's
little
awesome.
D&D lore for you guys. Yeah, it's Puss in Boots Sinners. That's a crazy connection.
Crazy.
Okay, Minecraft was great. Switch 2. We got some big news here. Switch 2 had their big launch, big announcement. I think it was through Nintendo Direct. And the big thing on everybody's mind is, what is this going to look like? How is this going to be different from the first Switch? And also, what is this going to cost? So originally, when they revealed it, it was sitting around 450. Let me find it real quick. Yeah. So 450 was originally the starting price, right? They launched it, they said it's going to be 450, which is a lot for a Switch. But with all the new stuff, it was kind of feeling like, maybe this is reasonable. The new Joy-Cons look infinitely better. As somebody who has very destructive children and has gone through a lot of Joy-Cons, across the board, obviously this is an improvement and a step up from the Switch 1. Well, then, not to be political, but like tariffs happened, right? And we pivoted from 450 to now it's more realistic to say somewhere in the neighborhood of upper 500s, even potentially $600, right? So that's a chasm. That's not a gap. And they canceled pre-orders, or to my understanding, like pre-orders were shut down immediately because people were expecting, obviously, to buy it at the price that they did for the pre-orders. And Nintendo saying that's not realistic. We can't do that anymore. So first of all, let's talk about that for a second, and then I have more news to pile on top of this. Isaac, were you in any way, shape, or form thinking about getting a Switch 2? And has this affected you? Like, are you now not going to buy it? Are you waiting to see what happens? Where are you at with this?
So I own 3 Switches in my
Oh,
household. So
okay.
I was definitely not thinking of getting a
Sure,
Switch 2.
sure.
I was like, we got too many of those
Yeah, we
already.
invested in this already.
We
Thank you.
invested in this exactly. So I wasn't like, if there were good prices, and I would not have got one on launch for sure.
Yeah.
But I might have hit one up, when the prices went down initially right away.
Black
But
Friday or
now I'm
Christmas
like,
thing, or yeah.
right, yeah, like a Black Friday sale or something like that, But now I'm like thinking, I mean, I don't need this. I
Right.
already own 3 Switches. If the prices are going to go up by that much, I really don't need this. And there are a few exclusive games which we'll probably get into that looked cool, but I've never been a guy that's like, I need to buy this game on launch. Like, I think I've
Right.
bought maybe 3 games in my entire life, like pre-order. I'm
Yeah.
just not that type of guy. So for me, it's not a necessity. It does look cool. I think the Joy-Con things, like you mentioned, is going to be an infinite improvement, because the sliding thing, the stick drift, man, those things are notoriously
Yeah.
going to go down in video gaming history as some of the worst controllers like ever.
It's rough,
So
dude. And
yeah,
like, I
it's
don't
it's
know if
pretty
yours
bad.
do the thing where like they won't connect when you snap them in.
I've had Joy Cons that do
It
that, yeah,
drives me
for
nuts.
sure.
Every
So,
single Switch I've had has
but
had that
yeah,
issue.
so they, I mean, obviously showed some video footage, some pictures and stuff, and it literally is just like a magnetic, like, slide in and boom,
Yeah.
you're done. So no more of these sliding up and down thing, and hopefully, like you said, the the more destructive children won't ruin these quite as easily as the previous one. So that's
Right.
great. Love that. The pricing is an issue, and I think, and again, this is another thing we're probably going to talk about in a bit, the game price was the thing that was the most
Right.
irritating or irking to me, because they announced even before the tariff thing, games are going to be $80 and
Yeah.
potentially 90 for certain games, which is just insane. $80 for a Switch or any game, but a Switch game too.
Yeah.
I can't justify paying that much money for something, like, almost ever. So, like, the fact that it's going to be like the new norm scares me a little bit. Like,
So
it
yeah,
will
and here's the
I'll
thing is like,
adjust eventually, but I'm like, that's the thing that I was the most shocked at, for sure.
yeah. Obviously, like games are getting more expensive. It is insane to me to charge that much for games. The problem here is Nintendo is very, very strict on their pricing, right? So like
Mhm.
other companies, Sony, Microsoft, you can pick up a game that's like 3 or 4 years old that didn't see as much play for like $20 at a Walmart, right? Like it's not unrealistic. If you go and pick up like even the oldest Nintendo Switch games, they will be still full price in the store. Like they
Yeah,
never go on sale, they never
it's
get
insane.
discounts. And I've always thought that eventually that would come back to bite Nintendo in the butt. And I think this is when it happens, right? Between the cost of the system and the fact that games are just going to get more and more expensive with never seeing sale prices, they got a big road ahead of them. Like, I don't know what's going to happen with it. The games look phenomenal, right? But
Yeah,
nobody's going to play them.
right. Yeah, I mean, obviously the one that appeals to you probably is the FromSoft game. The What was it?
Yes.
Dusk Bloods is
Yes.
the one it's
So
called.
so I have to talk about this because I'm going
Okay,
insane.
go for it.
Bloodborne, if you know anything about the gaming industry, you'll know that Bloodborne has been a nightmare for FromSoft specifically. So Bloodborne was made in partnership with Sony. It's a PlayStation exclusive, right? But I don't know if I don't know if it was like the strictness of the contract or what really happened there. But there has never been a Steam release, which is pretty unusual for games of that success. There's never been a sequel, right? And so for literally ever, us FromSoft fans have been like, we have to get this on Steam. We have to get this game a sequel because it's just that good. It is probably my third favorite FromSoft game. Obviously, Elden Ring will always be top dog, and then I like the Dark Souls series slightly more. But Bloodborne is amazing. Like it's probably one of my top 10 favorite games, flat out. It's that good. And so when we saw that trailer, anybody who's a Bloodborne fan saw that trailer, we're like, oh my gosh, are we getting Bloodborne 2 for the Wii? And no, it is not. It is a multiplayer, I think they said PvP, PvE type thing. I don't know
Interesting.
what that looks like. To me, that sounds like maybe it's just how they do Elden Ring. which is obviously co-op, open world, and PvP or PvE, depending on how you want to play it. I'm hoping that's the case. But this is weird. And I'm not sure what to think. FromSoft has been doing some strange stuff. Night Rain is about to come out, which Night Rain is they took every single world that they've developed from Sekiro to the Dark Souls games. They smashed them into Elden Ring and made it like a kind of like a battle royale. It has a storm that shrinks. And it's like, what do you do? Like, this is, thank you. I'm glad you give us more content, but this is so not like what FromSoft is known for.
And the Switch is such a weird console.
Why?
To come out
Right?
with
Like why this console?
exclusive like game. I don't like, and I'm not a FromSoft Dark Souls type guy, but it just seems so odd to me that they're developing this for the Switch,
And this is the other thing, right? We are still feeling the ripple effects of them going exclusive with Bloodborne, right?
Right.
It is the most famous game for like, this was a console exclusive that needs to be on other platforms and just never was. And they did it again. Isaac, they've done it to me twice now with these Bloodborne titles.
Well, why? And as a, whatever you want to call it, like spiritual successor to Bloodborne or whatever, will this ever come to anything other than the Switch 2?
It's not gonna, and we've been down this road, Isaac.
That's so insane. Like that blows my mind that FromSoft was okay with that, number one. But that Nintendo also, because Nintendo is pretty notoriously known as like the children's console. Like they always come out with these very family friendly, kid focused games. Yeah. And it's so odd to me that, that this is going to be a driving force for buying the Switch 2 on opening day.
And this is the thing, right? It's like me as the target audience for these FromSoft games, I'm like, I love Bloodborne.
I need a Switch 2?
I am not buying a Switch 2, guys. Like, not at these prices. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, for real.
Oh, it hurts, Isaac. After this podcast, I'm going to go in my room and just cry for an hour.
Just cry and jam to some music, yeah.
We saw a few others. Some big ones being like, I really like the concept that they added to the Mario Kart, like making it open world. Looks great. I'm like so on board for this. Donkey Kong. And when I saw the reveal for this, I looked like Odyssey 2, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, that was a good game. And then I don't know at what point it hit me that I'm like, that's Donkey Kong. So we're basically getting like the Mario Odyssey version of Donkey Kong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a few others. We're getting a new Pokemon game. I'm trying to find the name for that. But it's interesting because a lot of these have been either rumored to be or confirmed to be Switch 1 available. You will be able to play these on the Switch 1, at least the Pokemon game for sure. And I think that's smart. Full stop.
And they did announce too that you will be able to play your Switch games on the Switch 2 as well. Like, I don't know if you want to call it even backwards compatibility these days. I don't know if that's still a term necessarily, but one thing about the games that I wanted to point out was, so they have a welcome tour, which is basically a tutorial for the Switch.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
They are also charging $10 for.
Yeah.
Who the heck is going to buy this? Like, that's the dumbest thing I have ever heard. If you come with a tutorial, you might get 50% or less of people that will play that game. Yeah. You charge for this thing? Nobody is buying that. I don't understand what they are doing with that specifically, but with all the gaming stuff. That blows my mind that they're charging money for that. That's the equivalent of like PlayStation charging for Astrobot when it came out on PS5. Right. But Astrobot was like a full game as well. Like, this is a freaking, it says welcome tour. Like, this isn't a game. This is literally a tutorial for the Switch.
So, and here's the thing too, is like, Astrobot is insanely well made, and they did such a great job with it that they were able to release the Adventures, which is a full $60 product and a great game. Right. Do that, right? Don't charge to learn how to use your platform.
I don't get it. It's wild.
That's crazy work, Nintendo.
So all of these factors, initially Switch 2, I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, yeah, I'm excited about it, blah, blah, blah. All of these factors guarantee that I won't be getting a Switch 2 for at least 3 years after release. Like I said, I own 3 Switches. They're still great consoles. I don't feel any need whatsoever unless I did see that they have Hades 2 on the list here. I don't
Yeah.
think that's going to be Switch 2
I
exclusive
hope not.
because Hades was a banger of a game.
Yeah.
So like I very highly doubt that Hades 2 is going to be Switch 2 exclusive, but they had that on their list in their presentation. So honestly, if that's exclusive, that would get me to think about it. But at the same time, all of these factors combined, I'm like, I'm out. I'm not going to worry about that for a long time unless one of my kids' Switches breaks. Then it's like,
Right.
okay, well, if I'm going to replace one, then we might as well get a Switch 2 instead of a Switch or something like that, you know. But I'm not in a hurry.
Yeah.
I'm not rushing to the store or pre-ordering this $600 console, potentially $600 console. Insane.
I did look this up because I was curious. So Reggie Fils-Aimé is like the most famous Nintendo president, and he's a goofy guy. Like, I don't know if you know anything about this man's lore, but he's an interesting character. So I was like, if he's still the president, I feel like he would be the kind of person to really like get out there and talk about this. He's not the current president, but it does look like he has a lot to say. He is kind of pushing back, and it sounds like he's defending Nintendo and saying like realistically, this is a business decision, and they probably don't want to be charging this much. They don't want to prevent access to their software and hardware, but in the market that we're in, especially with the tariffs, stuff is going to be expensive. Now that being said, don't charge for your freaking introduction tutorial. Like,
Wild.
get your crap together.
You mentioned something that I think might be fascinating to find out. The Switch has, and Nintendo necessarily has, a good enough reputation that they're still going to sell the Switch 2, regardless of how much they jack it up. The problem is where they're going to lose people is the casual consumer. Right. Grandma looking for a gift for her grandson is going to go to GameStop or, you know, whatever gaming store and look at the price at the $600 console, and she's gonna be like, "Oh, we're not
happening.
That.
No way.
We're not getting that." The hardcore gamers will still get it. They're still gonna make their money, but it's not going to be a smash success.
Sure.
That maybe the Switch was when that, you know, came out. And obviously the Switch 2, I mean, like, yes, it's an improvement like of a console, but it kind of honestly is like a pro version of the Switch, right? Like, it's not that much different. So like me, I already have 3 Switches. I don't feel like I need to upgrade right now. So I think they're going to run into a lot of that. And I don't think the sales are going to be as high as they are hoping for this.
We ran into this obviously with COVID, but also with the Suez Canal. If you remember that little ditty, when supply lines are disruptive for whatever reason, and yes, tariffs are part of that, you're going to see an increase, not just obviously with the Switch, but with everything. And so you look at stuff like Meta. Meta is kind of riding on the platform that, like, dude, you can own a VR headset for like $150 or whatever it is now. And so I'm interested to see if, as everything sort of rises, does the Switch seem like a more reasonable choice going forward? Because there's probably not a PlayStation 6 on the horizon anytime soon. There's probably not a new Xbox again on the horizon. And so if somebody's craving like the new experience,
right,
do they bite the bullet and buy a $550, $600 Nintendo Switch? I don't know. It's a hard sell.
Right. So that's where Nintendo actually has an edge, I think, is that they are on such a different schedule than PlayStation and Xbox. Like PlayStation and Xbox, they're pretty much releasing their next gen consoles within a year-ish of each other, right? And Switch or Nintendo is like on their own schedule. So like, yes, it timing wise, this is actually pretty good for them because we had the PS5, Xbox, you know, Series XS release. What is it, 3 years ago now or whatever it was? And like you said, we're not seeing another next gen PlayStation or Xbox for at least 3 years, probably more.
Right.
So this is great timing for them. The pricing is what's going to make people think twice.
It's going to hurt bad for sure. Okay. Marvel Rivals has been a fan favorite, not just of ours, but sort of universally, right? Everybody and their brother is playing Rivals right now. And it's seeing a lot of the success that Overwatch did in its first launch and is not doing now. And they've made some, I'm going to say, bold choices. So if you're not in the know, as the new season dawned upon us, they added a new character in the form of Emma Frost, right? Canonically, in the comic books, Emma Frost is a little promiscuous, right? We'll put it that way. And we kind of have seen this before with Marvel Rivals. We got the launch of Invisible Woman, and then immediately we got the
Malice.
Skin helmet. Malice Skin. I was going to say Penance, but that's a very different Marvel character.
Different character.
So we got the... and he does not wear clothes like that. So we got the Malice Skin. Pretty revealing. There's been a couple of those. And the Emma Frost one takes that up a notch. Like, it's incomparable at this point. And a lot of jiggle physics. Now, obviously, a lot of guys our age or like 20-somethings, teenagers and stuff play this game. That target demographic, sure, it's a little fan servicey, right? My kids play this game, Isaac.
Yes.
So what do you think about the new season, and what do you think in particular about the fact that they're like, hey, she's part of this? Like, obviously there's no R-rated stuff going on technically, but it's very suggestive.
It's very suggestive. Yeah. I actually made a video about this when they released a lot of the details, and I got a lot of interesting responses from people.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Facebook seems to be the place that I get the most diverse responses for some reason. I don't know. Like, it's wild, but a lot of people on Facebook I had a lot of people agreeing with me, but I had a loud minority that were like, this is exactly what we wanted. Like, what are you talking about? And then there was a couple guys that were like, well, if I mentioned a comment about like, I hope my wife isn't in the room with me when I'm playing Emma Frost and I win MVP because the MVP animation.
It's wild.
The MVP animation. When you say jiggle physics, it's the MVP animation is where that comes in. Like,
it's a jiggle physics simulator for sure.
We didn't really have like. I don't want to like get too much into like the actual character design, game development side of things, but like we didn't really have that much jiggle physics in previous characters up until this point.
For sure.
So that was shocking when we saw that like revealed initially. It was like, oh my gosh, who is creating these character models and what the heck are they doing? But I mentioned that, and a couple of people were like, well, if your wife doesn't like cartoon characters, then maybe you're the one watching cartoon porn, you know, like, and I was like, oh, okay. All right. And you just, that's just nonsense. Social media and content creation. Like, you're going to get trolls, some weirdos like that, that say things like that. So it is controversial though, to say the least. So, but man, it was, and to be fair, I mentioned also in that video, she's, like you said, promiscuous in the comics, and wears
very comic accurate.
It's very on point. It's not like they're breaking her character to make her this way.
No,
she's already like that. They just adapted her pretty well, honestly. The interesting part of that is that she is a pretty typical like skinny white woman in the comics, and she is a tank or a vanguard in Marvel Rivals, so they made her they made her a little thicker in this, which again, like, if you're making a Vanguard tank character, they should be thick. They should not be skinny. So again, I'm not complaining about that. Marvel Rivals did the right thing. But yeah, they dialed the level previously in their game up to an 11 from maybe like an 8 before, you know, with the Malice skin that you mentioned. I mean, there are comic characters that have pretty revealing outfits. That's guys, one of the more.
There is worse than this.
There's way worse in the comics, and we'll probably get more with. I mean, like, they already revealed too Emma Frost's secondary skin that that is just as, if not way worse than the first skin that she has. Just like, oh my god.
So the comparison I saw, and I think this is a just comparison, is people are like, well, no one freaked out over the Namor skin, the Namor skin, which. Yeah, that is a scantily clad man. He is literally in like green whitey tighties. But they didn't add jiggle physics to Namor. I don't know if you're looking close.
God, oh my gosh.
His bits and bobs are not moving around in this. So like, I get what you're saying, right? Totally get that. But yeah, it is slightly apples to oranges.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe we'll see like
Look, honestly, you take out that MVP animation screen, it's
fine.
still revealing,
Okay.
and there is a part in her character intro where she kind of like waves her hips a little bit. Like she does like a hip circle. And sure, it's still probably more than they needed to do, but even that is like, that's not that bad. Like, whatever. It honestly is probably a little bit of a nod to her character in the comics, if anything.
They fully knew what they were doing. Like her ultimate, she yells kneel and makes you walk towards her. She choke slams you. Like
they knew what
they knew what they were doing.
But I will say, I think that MVP animation screen is too much. They were doing too much with the jiggle physics.
For sure.
Tone it down, guys, a little bit. Like, make it slightly less obvious that you're doing this, you know? Come on.
So, we teased it at the beginning. We're getting there now. We're getting a lot of new characters. Obviously, we're getting a lot of new skins. Blade is still in the game in so much as like he's in the lore. He has a character model in there. Obviously, he's not playable, right? He did not come out with the season. We also know that Ultron is coming. He's been teased. We've seen him. He's now in the new like cutscenes. He's a big part of the new levels. So we know that he's on the horizon. So with that in mind, Isaac, and we'll ping pong back and forth, I'm going to ask you to give me your first pick. If you could add one character from Marvel Comics into this game, who would it be and why?
You know what? I totally forgot that you asked me that at the episode. So
we're doing it live.
Give me a second. That's that's just how these things go. But
yeah, good and great.
Obviously, I'm very intertwined in the Spider-Man side of things. Yeah. I do really appreciate how they make it's almost like their own, I don't know if you want to call it sect or whatever, of characters where you right now we just have Spider-Man and Venom, and they're the characters that you can get out quick, you know, like Spider-Man, they have the swinging mechanics. Spider-Man is kind of the assassin that you can
He's very
get
mobile.
in and out quick. Obviously, Venom is a tank, but he still has that same mechanic where if he gets in trouble, you can get out of there real quick. So I wouldn't mind seeing more Spider characters. The one that comes to mind for me is Spider-Woman, aka Spider-Gwen. I don't like calling her Spider-Gwen. I think it's a stupid name. So Spider-Woman.
Ghost Spider.
Ghost Spider. That's the better. It's the better name for her.
Spider-Woman is a different person.
True. So in her world, she's Spider-Woman. That's why I say Spider-Woman.
Okay.
But yeah, I think she would be a good one. Honestly, Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew, would also be another cool addition. She's a little different though, too. Like you wouldn't necessarily need to do swinging mechanics for her because her spider powers are like psychic powers. They're a little different than the typical spider person. But that would actually be a pretty cool addition.
That would be cool.
But yeah, that was the first thing that came to mind. Any more spider people. The thing I like personally, Scarlet Spider, Ben Reilly, like those guys, but they're so similar to Peter Parker and Spider-Man that like I don't know if you really could distinguish them like as different characters with different abilities and stuff like that. So Miles would be another good one because you could add his Venom powers to
the shock and being able to go invisible
the shock
would be great.
Invisible, that would be another cool one. So that's what I'm going to actually go with Miles because he's got a different power set than a lot of the other spider people. So that's the one that I think would probably be the coolest for me. And I might have to learn Spider-Man a little bit. I played a little bit as him. I'm just a terrible DPS in general, and he's not an easy character to learn. So
he's very unforgiving. Yeah.
Right. He's unforgiving. I've played a ton of Venom. Venom is one of my tank mains, so I love playing Venom. I do love playing tanks in general, so if we could get more tanks, I'd be fine with that too. Or support. I'm either one of those. Like, we got plenty of DPS. We don't need more of those guys.
I'm going to cheat. I know I literally made this game and I made the rules, but I'm going to cheat a little bit. I would like to see Cable come in at some point. Obviously, we have a lot of like the characters adjacent to him, and he is kind of a big part of the Krakoa era X-Men. And so seeing Cable either young or old, I don't have a preference there, would be pretty cool. And it would be great if like he launched with Deadpool, because like they have to go at like it is.
Yeah,
it's Deadpool and Cable like forever. And so I would love to see something like make some utilization of his time jump. To me would be so cool. Like have the ability slightly to manipulate time. And it doesn't have to be like, I'm sure there's more interesting ways to do it than Tracer from Overwatch, but that's kind of what's in my mind right now.
Yeah.
Make him a Vanguard, really tanky, and you can give him guns or just give him his sword or whatever. And I think there's a lot you could do there.
Okay, I just had a thought pop into my
Sure.
mind. Another power subset that we don't really have yet is speed. So
Sure.
Quicksilver would be a really cool addition, and I think you could make
that.
him like a assassin character like Spider-Man, because like you could get him in there quick, like get him out, you know, with just his speed
Make
mechanics.
him really
somehow.
glass cannon, but wicked fast.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. And they'd have to come up with some, you know, pretty. I mean, obviously you can do a lot of things with speed.
Sure.
Flash is the vastly superior speed character, but obviously when you're Marvel, you gotta adapt and
you gotta do what you can.
do what you can with what you got. So Quicksilver would be a cool addition just because he'd be a totally different character than what we've seen.
I like that
in Marvel Rivals so far. I wouldn't play him though, because he'd be a DPS and I would suck at him. So
you're not about that. I'm gonna go with one of my all-time favorites. I'm a big fan of Mighty Avengers, which if you haven't read that, it's a cool like spin-off of like, these are some Avengers who are doing something different, and they're led by Ant-Man, which is Hank Pym. And I always liked his character as not just being Ant-Man, but being brilliant, right? So there's a point even in one of those comics where he meets Eternity, which is like the manifestation of the universe. And he's like, yeah, you're my scientist supreme in the same way that Doctor Strange is my sorcerer supreme. And so having some like cool abilities to shrink and grow, but also like working with the fact that this dude is brilliant, like he made Ultron, I think would be a cool way to go with that. So my number 2 is Ant-Man.
Yeah, I think that's a good one, because that's another like addition of like a power subset that we don't really have right now in Marvels. That would be a cool.
And if we're getting Ultron, like it just makes sense for the next thing,
right?
And it opens the door for like Wasp and Cassie, his daughter, Stature. I just feel like there's a lot you can do with that one.
So you mentioned Ultron earlier, obviously.
Yes.
One thing that I thought was interesting was before even the season dropped was that Emma Frost is a Vanguard, which kind of out of
that's interesting
character for her, I guess. Like,
yeah,
I mean, they did a great job with the character design as her as a Vanguard, but Ultron as a strategist is another really interesting choice. Support character, like I just, that's not what I think of when I think Ultron. So I'm excited to play him, because I'm also like a strategist. Like strategist Vanguard is like where I float. Like I stay away from DPS unless I'm literally forced. Like you and I were playing the other day. It's like, if I'm forced to do DPS, I'll do it, but I'm not going to like it, and I'm going to suck. Gonna be great. So you're going to want to change and be DPS when I'm playing with you. But yeah, like I think that's so interesting. I'm excited to play as him. What do you think about Ultron coming as a strategist?
Yeah, I haven't looked at his kit. I don't know what's leaks and what's not, and that's my problem. Is I just kind of want to avoid it altogether, because I don't want to get my hopes up for something that's not real. And we saw like skills that launched basically with Rivals that they're like, hey, this is what Ultron does. I don't know if that was data mined. I don't know if that was fake. Anyways, all that to say, I am a big fan of games where strategist or quote unquote support doesn't necessarily always mean like heal bot, right? So like I play Rocket. Rocket is my main. It's the only Lord I have right now. I like that he is more than just healing. Like, sure, obviously he shoots his orbs, but the ability to like kick out the packs and revive people, and you have a pretty substantial gun on your back. I like stuff like that. And so if you were to say like, hey, Ultron is a strategist, I would agree with that. He's definitely a strategist in the comics. And so that doesn't necessarily have to correlate with healer. And I think that would be an interesting way to do that and give his character more than just like, hey, here's another healer you could choose from.
Yeah, I think they definitely are planning on, you know, giving him some different abilities to not make him the just average healer type of character. But I don't know. That was interesting to me. I was like, oh, okay.
He's a strategist. All right.
I kind of like that they're doing different things with these characters, and that the fact that they literally have their own lore that they're creating. Like, I love all the stuff they're coming out with. Like, you can read all these character backstories, and they're literally creating a universe for these characters to be in, instead of just being like oh, hey, look, it's a fighter. There's a bunch of characters you can choose from. There you go. You know,
there's a lot of nods to like really, really, really good comics. Obviously, Isaac, you know this. Some of our longtime listeners know this. I, at one point in time, one of my claim to fames was I had read every X-Men comic, I think at the time up until like early Krakoa stuff, right? I had read everything from that, and I'm starting to regain that. I'm reading a lot of the Krakoa stuff, Marauders, but they reference like M Day, right? Emma Frost has a voice line with Scarlet Witch where she's like, "I will never forgive you for what you did to us." And this version of Scarlet Witch never went through that. And so I think it's interesting that they can call out these like big moments in comics history, but
Yeah.
still have this desperate and separate lore that exists between all these different characters of like, are you really my Mr. Fantastic from my universe? Are you my Penny? And that push and pull between like which universe do they actually reside in and what comics are canon, what aren't. I think that's so interesting. I love the way they did that.
Yeah, and they do a lot of really cool references, and it's, I feel like it's slightly limited so far, but obviously as the game progresses, we're gonna get a ton more skins. But like each skin, they reference where they're
from,
where the inspiration for that skin was, like mostly in the comics. Every once in a while they have, you know, like original skins that they're creating too, but I think that's really cool that they're, you know, drawing from inspiration sources like that. It's cool that they're keeping true to some like form of, you know, Marvel comics, but at the same time creating their own universe. And honestly, that's a big reason why I loved Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, the show that just dropped on Disney Plus earlier this year. It was so fresh and
it's
different
for sure. Yeah.
But they still did a really cool job of creating a universe that feels so familiar from everything that you know from Marvel Comics. Like all these characters, some of them are ripped straight from the comics. And then you got different takes on some of them, like we mentioned in that episode, which I'll have a link in the show notes for. Zane and I did a review of that. But Kurt Connors is the guy in the comics who becomes the Lizard.
Right.
They gender swapped her. It's Carla Connors. Doesn't really move the needle on her character. Like she's the same character as Kurt Connors was in the comics. They're just doing a different take on it. And then you've got Doc Ock, who is just stripped straight from the comics. Like the same
very true to form.
Very true to form. And I love that because Doc Ock in the comics is fantastic. He's a great villain. Yeah. But yeah, they're doing some really fun things in Marvel Rivals that reminded me of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Like taking all these inspirational sources and putting them into one universe and weaving one story between all of those characters. I think that's really, really cool how they're doing that.
They're doing a lot of like, whoever is designing this, especially the skins, they're comic fans 100%. Right. And I say that because like one of the skins that launched specifically with Captain America was his World War Hulk skin. That is one of my favorite comics of all time. It's not, people did not read this comic.
Yeah.
It was part of Battle World. It was one of like 25 ongoing series from that big event. Not a lot of people read that story. And so seeing that skin at launch, I'm like, these guys are invested. Like comic fans are making these games. And that's refreshing. Not a lot of games will do that. They'll take the very bread and butter, like these are the people that people will recognize from the Marvel movies, and that's it. And so, yeah.
And they announced as well that we're going to be getting at least 2 characters per season, which ends up being about per month.
Yeah.
Pretty much from here on out. So, we're going to be getting tons of new characters in the coming months, years of this.
So let's real quick rapid fire. I'm going to have you do both the years at the same time.
Okay.
Give me 2 comic book related skins for either characters that you pitched today or characters that are already in the game.
One of them has to be Symbiote Spider-Man. Yeah. I absolutely adore that costume. My favorite costume of all time. I don't even play Spider-Man, but I would probably buy that skin.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
you're gonna get money out of me, Marvel Rivals, if you make that skin. So Symbiote Spider-Man's gotta be in that at some point.
I love that.
Oh man, the one that I would have said if they didn't already have it in there is they have the anti-Venom skin for Venom, and it is so cool. So good. I literally freaked out when I saw that they had that, and I was like, I went and bought it immediately because I was like, oh my gosh, they have anti-Venom? Like, that's so cool. That's He's one of the like weirdest characters in comics, but I love that they had that. It's like a deep cut that, like, I mean, you look at it and you're like, that's weird. It's kind of cool. It looks sweet, but like it's a deep cut from the comics that a lot of people don't know the background of Anti-Venom. So I love that. I would have to say, I think we should continue, which this battle pass has 2 of them, Psylocke and what's the
Yeah.
other one? The original like X-Men
Magic.
costumes, Psylocke and Magic. I need
Yeah.
that for all of the X-Men that they're going to introduce in this game. The original X-Men costumes, like the blue and yellow, oh my gosh, those look so good. And the battle pass did a fantastic job of creating that for those characters. But yeah, we need those for every single X-Men that enters this game, because those are fantastic. So continue that, Marvel Rivals. And another little Easter egg of a character that we want to see is Cyclops. And if Cyclops doesn't intro with his blue and yellow costume, they're doing something wrong. Like that's got to be his base costume, I think, when they bring him in, because he's got to come in. Like Cyclops is a perfect character for this game.
Yeah,
with those eye concussion blasts, it's like perfect. It's like he's made for this game, basically. So
yeah.
I
would like to see that as well.
So those are my choices for costumes.
My 2, and I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of your Spider-Man theme. One of my all-time favorite comic runs is Spider Island. I think it's amazingly well written, and it introduced one of my favorite characters, which is Kane as Scarlet Spider. I'm not rooting for Kane because we actually have that skin in game already, which is great, and I think it was a launch for skin. PS5, which is phenomenal.
PS5. Mm-hmm.
But one of my favorite versions of Steve Rogers is the Spider King, which is, look it up, it is like literally Steve Rogers turned into a giant spider, and it is so cool. He wears like a hood over his head.
It's amazing.
I would love to have that skin in game.
Oh, that would be so cool. I would love that.
My second one is, I have a brand and I have a rep to protect. I would consider myself probably one of the biggest Moon Knight fans on planet Earth. I've read these comics since I was a wee lad. One of my favorite all-time costumes that he wears is in the Lemire run. He has to don a costume made of like old bones and like pharaoh stuff. Look it up because it's so sick. And he does this to fight like punk rock ghosts, and they use that they use his like mystical bone armor one time, and then they never talk about it again. And I'm like, he has a giant bird skull mask, and it goes so freaking hard. And they're like, we're done with this.
No,
that needs to be in
no
the
more.
game.
No more. That's
to you, the listeners at home. I want you to go on social media and tell us, make a video, whatever you got to do. Tell us who you would add to this game. I want 2 characters and I want 2 skins. So your homework is 4 things. It is due by the next podcast episode. If you fail to turn in your homework, Isaac will show up to your house and he'll whip you with a yardstick. And that's just how it is. He's old school like that. I've told him, hey, it's 2025. We can't be doing this to our fans and listeners. Isaac is unstoppable. I don't know if you've met this man. He will be at your house.
You better watch out.
Do that or else. Thank you guys so much. Isaac, thank you. This has been a blast. It's been a hot minute since you and I have had a good mess around.
It has, man. And it has been a blast. Thank you for hosting tonight. It's been a fun time having you host too. One more. Now my creative juices are flowing.
Yeah, we're in it. Let's go.
I've got one more. Agent Venom. Because that would be a really fun combination of like Punisher and like the Spider-Man. You could still have 100%. That Spidey mechanic of him swinging away, but he's got guns.
He's got guns now.
He's got guns.
He's a little smaller. He doesn't have to be Vanguard.
Yeah, true.
I like what they did with Mr. Fantastic, where he exists somewhere in between. Right?
Yeah,
Mr. Fantastic will kick your butt. He will hurt you in unbelievable ways.
As a DPS, you're not winning a 1v1.
But then he turns around and he's like tanking every shot you throw at him.
Yeah.
I think that's a cool place to play, and I think they need more halfway characters like that.
That would be a great one for Agent Venom, actually, because he still has the Venom symbiote and he could absorb a lot of that.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
It's a great idea. Look at, Marvel Rivals.
Yeah.
NetEase just listen to this episode and it gives you all of your ideas for your next characters. So there you go.
All right. I had an honorable mention for the skins, but I didn't want to do it because I was like, I said 2, we'll stick with 2. There is I'm a huge Hank Pym fan. I'm a huge Ultron fan. There is a comic where they are trying to stop Ultron from doing his business. So Hank sacrifices himself and jettisons him and Ultron into the deep vastness of space to die alone in the blackness between the stars, right? Great sacrifice. Partially into this journey, they both realize we don't want to die. Ultron doesn't want to be done doing Ultron. And Hank's like, hey, I kind of don't want to die, because Hank Pym in the comics has a pretty big ego. So rather than like both of them letting their nemesis die, they form together and you get Pymtron, which is literally like the disembodied top half of Hank Pym and the bottom of Ultron. And it is like some seriously cool techno body horror. I would love to see that as a skin. It's phenomenal. And also, like, I love that Hank Pym is like, I'm going to do the heroic sacrifice. Just kidding. I'm too selfish for this.
Yeah, no.
It's so on brand.
I'm good. That's hilarious.
It's great.
Love that.
So, yes, thank you. Thank you, folks at home, for listening. If you have strong opinions about anything that we've said, take to the internet. I know Isaac loves nothing more than sitting by all day reading the things that you say about him that are cruel and sometimes unusual.
My favorite thing to do.
Yeah, he wakes up in the morning, and guys, it is crazy. Before the morning coffee, before he even brushes his teeth, he sends me a Snapchat each and every day. And it's, hey, here's another day of me looking at the internet. I want to know what they're saying about me. And his wife is like, his wife is like, stop sending Jarret this. And he's like, I can't. I'm addicted.
I can't do it.
Yeah. So please get on the internet. Tell us how you feel about the Minecraft movie. Is the critiques deserved? Is this a bad movie and Isaac and I just missed the mark? Or do you think this was a fun romp for the family? Are you buying a Switch 2, knowing what it costs for a Switch 2 and the fact that they're charging you for the tutorial game? And have you been playing Marvel Rivals? Have you been getting chokeslammed by a Dami Mommy Emma Frost? Talk about it. We want to hear from you. Find us on all the social medias at the Infinity Bros. We have link trees pretty much everywhere. You cannot find one of our social medias without also accidentally bumping into another one. Check out our Patreon and check out our previous episodes. This is kind of a diversion from what we normally talk about. We're not usually just a video game podcast, so see some more reviews. Obviously, we talked about Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man. Thank you so much, wherever you're listening, however you're listening, for making the Infinity Bros part of your day. We love you 3000. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Infinity Bros podcast. You can find the Infinity Bros on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube at the Infinity Bros. You can also check out our website at theinfinitybros.com for links, reviews, and sweet merch. Feel free to send listener feedback via social media or email at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com.